All right, here we go. This is the Unit 2 test review. I think we are on page, what are we on page 4? 1, 2, yeah. All right, we are on page 4. Now, remember, this unit's all about parallel lines. So I'm going to put some arrows on here because this won't work unless these are parallel. So if we look at this picture here, um, we have our two parallel lines and we have our transversals. Now the transversal goes through the trans good start. All right, the transversal goes through the two parallel lines at different spots. All right. Now I didn't really necessarily need to do that, but if we look at kind of, this thing going on here, those two kind of angles, the 5x minus 30 and the 4x minus 18, those are alternate interior angles. All right, they're kind of tucked up in those corners of the kind of that green spot that I drew. We know that alternate interior angles are congruent. So we can take the 4x minus 18 and we can go ahead and set that equal to the 5x minus 30. All right. And now we're just going to solve it. All right, so subtract 4x over, add 30 over, and let's see here. We're going to have x equals 12. All right. Now, they're not asking us to find what the angles are specifically, but we could very easily do that. If you just wanted to plug it back in and check your answer, that's how we would do that, right? So let's see here, 5 times 12 is 60, 60 minus 30 is 30. 4 times 12 is 48, 48 minus 18 is also 30. So both of those are 30-degree angles, all right? And they should be the same thing because our equation, the way we set it up, we said they should be equal. All right. Now on this next one. Oh, what can we do here? I'm going to take these two. Right, those are vertical angles. We know vertical angles must be congruent. So I'm going to take the 3y plus 5 and say that is equal to 50. All right, so subtract the 5, divide the 3. Well, let's do that all here. 3y equals 45. 45 divided by 3, of course, gives us 15. Okay, so y is 15. All right. Now, on the next one, this is where it's going to be very beneficial to kind of fill in some blank spots. All right. And what I mean by that is this angle right here. There's nothing there. It's blank. But we know what that is. These two angles are corresponding. All right. So I'm going to take that 50 and I'm going to write it right here. All right. So if I look at these two angles right here, those are a linear pair. And we know linear pairs are supplementary. And supplementary, of course, means they add up. Those two angles add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to take 2x plus 10 plus the 50, add them together, and that equals 180 degrees. And then solve from there. So we're going to have 2x, what is that, plus 160 equals 180. Subtract your 160 over 2x is going to equal 20. 2x equals 20. That means just 1x equals 10. Right? And that one's done. On to the next one. Now, on something like this, I'm going to make this picture a little bit bigger here. So 41, slightly different here because there's really no way to solve this from the picture. We're going to have to add in some extra stuff. So every now and again in geometry, it helps to add in, we call an auxiliary line. All right, there's a line we can draw anywhere we want. There's some postulate somewhere that says I can draw a line through a point that is going to be parallel to another line. All right, so I'm going to do one of these. All right, so that red line I'm going to draw kind of going through that point. I'm going to say that this line is parallel to the top line. All right, and then we know the top and the bottom are parallel, so we're going to use that controversial transitive property here and say that all three of these lines are parallel. Now, if I just focus on the top two, all right, so maybe I draw these separately up here. right? Then I have that transversal. We have a 117 degree angle in that kind of top corner. Right now, we know these two angles. All right, so like this guy right here and this one, they are same side interior angles. They have to be supplementary. All right, they have to add up to 180 degrees. So if the top one is 117, the bottom one has to be, what is that going to be? 63, right? Because 63 plus 117 gets us that 180. So I'm going to put that 63 down here. All right, now that is only that top half. I'm going to do the same exact thing kind of on the bottom here. All right, so if I look at these two parallel lines and that transversal is doing something like this, we have a 125 degree angle. All right, so we have to think, okay, what is this angle right here going to be? What is going to get us to 180? Because again, these are same side interior angles. Well, that should be a 55 if my mental math is correct here. All right, so now in this bottom corner, this is 55. All right, now the angle addition postulate lets us add up these two angles. All right, they are adjacent angles. The interiors are, inside of each other, so we can say x equals 55 plus 63. What does that give us? 118 maybe? Gives us 118 degrees. All right, and there we have it. So on a problem like that, draw that auxiliary line, draw the line through there to figure that one out. There's really no other way to do that problem. All right, now let's see on the next one here. Like I said earlier, I think it was on the problem directly above this. It's going to be beneficial for us to kind of fill in some extra pieces. So I know that this angle right here is x degrees. That is a corresponding angle. And I know that this angle right here is 55 degrees. That is corresponding. All right, so these two angles are corresponding. And these two angles are corresponding. All right. So now the next one. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this line and kind of extend it out. All right. So if I look at these lines right here, I have an 80-degree angle here. And I know I have an alternate interior angle right here, which is also 80 degrees. All right. So if I wanted to, I can take that 80 degrees and I can put it right here. Right? That is an alternate interior angle. Right? So we said this was an X. We said this was a 55. And now we do have enough information to solve the rest of this problem here. If you look at those three numbers right there, or those three, things, they make a straight line. Right? Those three angles are supplementary. So we can say X plus 80 plus 55 equals 180. Right? So combining your like terms, subtracting everything over to one side, we are going to get X equals 45 on this one. Right? Now, one more thing to keep in mind is this 2y is an alternate interior angle with the 80. All right, for that same reason we did before, I'm going to extend these lines, and I think it's a little bit easier to see when you do that. I think it's easier to see that those are alternate interior angles. So we know alternate interior angles are congruent. So we can say 2y equals 80, divide both sides by 2, and we're going to be left with y equals 40. And that one's done. And actually, I think, oh, dang it. I thought we were done with this page. We got to prove. All right. Given line G and line H are parallel. All right. So, hey, we already know step one. G is parallel to H. Why do we know that? We know that because that is given. All right. If you do that, I will give you 1 out of 5 points on this proof. We need to prove that 1 is supplementary to 2. All right, so what does that mean? Supplementary, all right, what we basically need to show is we need to show that angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 180 degrees. All right, so what I would recommend here is I would start with two angles that we know equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to say on step 2, if I look at angle 2 and angle 3, those are a linear pair. What do we know about linear pairs? We know linear pairs equal 180 degrees. So we can say angle 2 plus angle 3 equals 180. All right. And of course, that is a linear pair. So we always have our statements and our reasons. Think of this line down the middle as like the word because. So we could say angle 2 plus angle 3 equals 180 degrees because they are a linear pair. All right. The next thing we can say is we need to look for some angle pairs that we know are congruent. So like angle 1, we're going to have to use angle 1 eventually. So angle 1 is congruent to, we need to find it. What is angle 1 going to be congruent to? Well, we know angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. All right, so again, angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they are alternate exterior angles. All right. So now what we can do is we can use step 2 and step 3 together to say, well, instead of saying angle 2 plus angle 3 equals 180 degrees, I am going to use the substitution method here to substitute that out. And we can say angle 2 plus angle 1 equals 180 degrees. That is just substitution. That should be STI. Did I spell that right? Substitution. I think that's substitution. Why am I blanking on how to spell this? SUBSTITU. I don't. It's whatever. All right. I've seen your guys spelling. You can't judge me on that one. All right. We'll do this. All right. Last but not least, we can say angle 1 is supplementary. Still getting wrapped up on that spelling. Angle 1 is supplementary to angle 2. All right, why? Why is that? Well, keep in mind, we wanted to show that angle 1 plus angle 2 is 180 degrees. Well, when two angles add up to 180, they are by definition supplementary. So our reason here is just the definition. I don't want to put two F's. The definition of supplementary angles. And that one's done. And this video is done, and I'm going to go look up how to spell that word. All right, so we'll see you guys in the next video.